And I knew that week was like the first week of the Obama, or first month of the Obama administration, and I could tell that the community organizer-in-chief was using his Alinsky tactics to attack Rush Limbaugh. Like right out of the gate, he wasn't like, okay, what are we going to do about the Mideast? What are we going to do about the economy? It was like, let's just go out there and pillory my political enemies. It was so concerted that even the press was like, that's beneath you. That's what you did, David, to do. You know, you get your political people, you know. But this is who this guy is. He's an Alinskyite through and through. So I was prepared on the show to know. I just know liberals. You do too, because you live with them all the time. And I knew that they were going to go after Rush Limbaugh. And so I called up Rush Limbaugh. I didn't call up Rush Limbaugh. I emailed Rush Limbaugh. I don't talk with Rush Limbaugh. That is something name dropped. I just said, I'm on this show. I know they're going to bring you up. Do you have anything to offer? Because I know they're going to bring you up. He said, I have a letter from Bill Maher when I defended him after 9/11 when people attacked him for saying something that was politically incorrect. And he defended him. And so Bill Maher sent him a handwritten letter saying, thank you very much for standing with me, up for me. And so when Bill Maher starts going off on Rush Limbaugh, starts attacking him as a racist, I was like, whoa! And I confronted him on that. I said, in the United States of America, there's nothing worse than you can call somebody than a racist. You better be able to back it up. He goes, oh yeah, well what about, you know, Barack the Magic Negro? I said, that's him making fun of David Ehrenstein, who wrote that in the Los Angeles Times. He's a black writer in the Los Angeles Times. He's making fun of a guy's perception that this guy's transcendent, and it shut him up. And then they kept going after him again, and I said, I just find it kind of strange, you know, Rush Limbaugh defended you, and you wrote him a handwritten letter, you know, thanking him. And I'm telling you, Bill Maher, like, what the hell was that? You have to watch this show because there's a few insightful things. I can tell you, like, when you see a person and you can tell that they're thinking about something? Well, when Michael Eric Dyson was talking and I knew I had to answer to it, I wasn't thinking. I didn't know what he was saying, and I was scared that like it would come to me. I go, I actually don't know 64% of those words. I knew the prepositions. I knew. You have to listen to it. It was so awkward, and it was like, you're a racist. You're a racist. You're a racist. You're a racist. Everyone's a racist. Everyone's a racist. And it basically was. First month of the presidency, it was basically what we've experienced over the last 2 years. Basically, Tea Party's racist. Tea Party's racist. It's pure Alinsky. It's pure bullshit. And I came off of the air. There was one point, you've got to see it. Just type in Michael Eric Dyson and Andrew Breitbart, because it's the most awkward TV ever. Ever, 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 ever. My friend who's a comedy writer in LA said, that's the most awkward show he's ever done. It was just excruciating to watch because I refused to budge, I refused to smile, I refused to indulge that this was a comedy show because they were calling everybody a racist that disagreed with them. I was just so pissed off. And so as I got off, as I was leaving the stage after having been booed mercilessly by the audience, even at one point, they booed me before I got my introductory clause out. You don't even know what I'm about to say and you're booing me. And Bill Maher defended me on that front because it was so obvious that these people are freaks. And so anyway, it was a half hour, 45 minutes, the worst television ever, or the best if you like car wrecks. And I walk off the stage, and I love dirty humor more than anyone in the world. There's no boundary for me. So Sarah Silverman walks by. I like her humor, I do. And she walks by, she ignores me, and she looks at Professor Dyson. She goes, "You're amazing." And then she goes by me and she sits on a chair, on my chair, and for the camera, she wipes it off, and she goes, slimy, because I was sitting there. It was like the worst experience ever to anyone. They go, how? And I walked into my green room, and my family was there, and my friends were there, and it was like a funeral. It was like, they were like, we're so sorry. And then, like, my friend's fiance is like, that's the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Are you going to be okay? And I mean, nobody was trying to, like, put a positive spin on it. Trust me if you see it. And I looked at them and I was like, yeah, I want to go back out there again. This is the first time I've ever felt alive in my entire life. I want to go back for seconds. I can't really explain to you, but I called it over the next week. I obsessed on it. I obsessed on it. It was the weirdest experience I've ever had in my entire life. Because it was to everyone that saw it, it was horrible. And I went to Starbucks the next day, and the barista was like, I saw you on that show last night, and I felt really bad because I'm a liberal, but that was unfair what they were doing to you. And I had liberals coming up to me, and like, they saw how stacked the deck was, and even people in the left thought it was a successful showing by me because I stood up for what I believed in. And I now call it the Coulter threshold because she was the first person to teach me this. When you watch her, the reason why you love her is because she's got that smile on her face when she's in the lion's den. And I now have Coulter, I have it too. So when I see her, we have like, you know, what's the name of our movie song by Servo? Eye of the Tiger? Like, we have it now because we experienced our worst fear and we faced it head on. And I think that Sarah Palin, Michelle Bachmann, Alan West, Chris Christie, there are a lot of people right now who aren't poll-tested politicians who are emerging from what's a new well called the Tea Party well. It's just the American people that's flummoxing the Republican Party because it's the think tanks and it's the moneyed interests and it's the status quo. And I'm telling you, there's so much more talent out there in the Tea Party because these are people who want to save the country versus people in Washington, D.C., even your favorite people who just want to save their job. And so what I'm seeing out there is that the Tea Party, I don't even like the term Tea Party, I mean, it doesn't, it's more than that. This is an existential battle to save this country, I believe. And it transcends fiscal responsibility, it transcends the Constitution. We're up against an existential threat. The left has wanted this moment, it's been building this moment up, it's been using the building blocks of our culture. It took over our colleges, it took over our K through 12, it took over Hollywood, and once they got the presidency with a guy who believed in their vision, this utopian, socialist, whatever you want to call it, vision, they said they're in it for, you know, this is it. This is their moment. And they didn't expect that a bunch of individualists, a bunch of conservatives would realize the power of not just collective effort, but standing up to their Alinsky tactics and getting into their faces. So that's basically what this book is about. It's how I went from being a lowercase d degenerate who resented my parents, well, his parents, because I'm speaking in the third person right now, who resented his parents when he graduated college and they said, you're going to have to pay for your own shoes. So I was a liberal with an entitlement mentality, and when I bought my first pair of shoes, I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And so I think that when I bought those shoes, it was my first steps as a conservative. I said, this is me, I need to be responsible. I felt better about myself. And I escaped my liberal life, and here I am taking on the left, and I encourage you to do so in whatever ways you can. Thank you. Questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question.
Alice?
Yes, thank you, Rich. Thank you. About California.
Mm-hmm.
Why does California keep putting back in Barbara Boxer? I
Because
mean,
it's
what is-
liberal?
I know, but they're going off the cliff. And Jerry Brown, don't they realize how bad it is? They had an option.
No idea whatsoever. But mind you, here's a weird thing. Everybody's coming up to me like going, politics, politics, politics. I'm not oriented towards the political. I'm trying to restructure the culture. I'm trying to get people to realize how important the media is in this. I'm trying, if the mainstream media isn't going to take the last 20 years of first rush Limbaugh acting as a daily critique of ABC, CBS, NBC, the New York Times, and the Washington Post, if they weren't going to take that daily critique that proves beyond a reasonable doubt that the media is left of center, if they're not going to take the advent of Matt Drudge when the Drudge Report became a juxtaposition every day, that they're not, that they're not on the up and up. And now we have a citizen journalism battleground where, we got rid of Katie Couric within the last 2 months. Dan Rather, 6 years ago or whatever, 7 years ago,
Frank
whenever
Rich.
that was. What?
Frank Rich.
Right. All these people. Is that they've had every opportunity to react to the market's rejection of them, and they refused to acquiesce because it was always about politics for them. It's the same in Hollywood. It's not about economic decisions for them. It's about, this is ideology, and their greatest weapon has been using the culture in order to inculcate idiots like me who in college thought he was a liberal just because that's what helped get laid. But that's brilliant for them to have programmed it that way, okay? So I don't pay attention so much to the political stuff. I hire people to do that type of thinking for me. My goal isn't to, that's why I'm not on TV that much, because I changed the subject from, Obamacare to media, or to Hollywood, because I want people to realize that that's where the battle needs to be fought if you really care about saving this country, because when it gets down to 2012, when it gets to 2010, we're crossing our fingers that a country that is 2-to-1 conservative, according to Gallup, to liberal, that the politicians are the ones that are going to save us from falling off the cliff. To save the culture is going to take 20 years, it's going to take 4 years. And when you go to a politician and say, what are you going to do about saving the culture? A, they don't even pay attention to the culture. That's not their job. And they're only thinking in terms of getting elected in 2-year, 4 years, and 6-year increments. And so I'm trying desperately to expand the conservative movement in Hollywood. There are now 1,700 to 1,800 people that meet quite regularly now in Hollywood. That was only 40 people in 2007. Okay? That's why I created Big Hollywood as the first one, is that I wanted to create a place where we could fight the hate. I'm telling you, ever since Big Hollywood came out, and I'm not taking sole credit for it, John Nolte's the best. He's the content of the site. Here's what it's like: a missile defense system against Janine Garofalo-like tyranny. Okay? And for the longest time, they could go out there and say insane things and hateful things and intimidating things that would cause a Patricia Heatman or a John Voight to be quiet on a set, even though they carry a lot of clout, but they don't want to buck the trends. They would say it publicly, and they knew that they could get away with it. In fact, it was almost the equivalent of saying to David Geffen, give me a job, I'm indulging you, your politics. And the last Big Hollywood has been around for 3 Oscars, and they've shut up about politics since then, because they know that we're going to isolate it. And then the special Andrew part of the recipe in all things Breitbart at the publishing things is overkill. Okay? And I go, make it so that Tim and Susan, oh, they're not together anymore. Okay, but make it so that it's so painful that they're not going to do it again. Make it overkill, overkill, overkill. And that's what we've done. And as a result, the talk radio shows use our sites as show prep. And so next thing they know, their emails are filled up. Or if not their emails, the heads of the studio's emails are filled up with people saying, I'm not going to that movie anymore. So we've neutralize to a great extent the freedom with which they waged this.